Good evening, YouTubers. Yes, I'm wearing the same clothes. I've been cleaning all day, so I'm knackered. Remember the table that I made in the garden? Well, I gave up on that because we lent on it today where it was a bit dodgy and it was breaking. So, bit the bullet, went to my second-hand man shop, and he's gone. He's closed up. But lucky there's another one across the road which is ever so slightly more expensive, and I went in there and they were just closing for siesta, and I went, whoa, no, necesito una mesa pequeña para mi jardín con cristales. And the fella, he said, right at the back, and I went in, there was like 10 of them, and he said, come on, make your mind up. I said, I don't know, how much are they? He said, well, which one do you want? I said, I'll have this one, just like a guess. And he turned all the lights off and he went, €30. And here we go. How's that? In comparison to what was there before, it is obviously lower. It's more of a coffee table, isn't it? And it's apparently a Manhattan, although that will be back to front, I suppose. That'll be a natter nam or something, because it's always back to front when they do it like this. Anyway, story time. Because of recent events, right, which I am not going to go into at the moment, but I'm sure stuff will come up. I remembered a story in a friend that I had in Brighton, which me and Thomas found really amusing at the time. We were selling a printer, and a guy turned up to buy the printer. And he was an extraordinary character. He was so fascinating, so entertaining. I was really, really good friends with him, probably for about 10 years. And all it was he turned up to buy a printer. He was incredibly posh. I think I'll call him Bobby, which is not his real name, because it's one of his brothers was a High Court judge. Bobby was not a High Court judge, and his sister had an equally illustrious career, which I won't mention because that narrows down who he is. I think, again, he's probably dead now. Anyway, Bobby was really quite a tiny guy, skinny. He had long black hair and a very nice shaven beard. He had a very sculpted face, and he was one of these people who wore velvet jackets like they did in the 1970s. He was a little bit older than me and Thomas by about 5 or 6 years, maybe 10 years older than us. Very posh, and he had loads of entertaining stories. But Bobby had a couple of problems in his life, which I'll come to in a moment. Well, firstly, he got the money out of he had this sort of laptop bag, and he got the money out to pay for the printer. But in order to get to the money, he pulled out a couple of submachine guns, really quite small, like handhelds. Uzi, perhaps, I don't know. Graham would have had to have been there to tell me exactly what they were, and he put them on the carpet. He was sitting cross-legged on the floor. He was like into rock star music and stuff like that, but he was awfully posh, and he went to Oxford or Cambridge or something like that. Anyway, so me and Thomas are sitting there in a confined space in my flat with a man we've never met before, looking at these two machine guns on the floor, thinking, holy crap, it just goes to show you have to think before you invite someone into your personal space. And he was cross-legged between us and the door, so effectively our exit was blocked. Now, luckily it turned out not to be a problem, and he was a lovely guy. Anyway, Thomas was very impressed with the guns, did mention them, and he went, oh no, they're nothing, like everybody's got a machine gun in their handbag, don't we all? In fact, mine's in the shop. It's being fixed this week. So we made friends with him, and as the months went by, he would come over, and he was an inherent pisshead. I mean, the guy could not remain sober. He was also a severe heroin addict, a functioning heroin addict. God knows where he got his money from. He lived with his mum and dad in an extremely large house, very near where Lady C's castle is, actually. Well, not that near. I think it was East Angmering. And I think we've got a YouTuber who's from Goring, haven't we? So she'll know this sort of neck of the woods. I think... No, it was East Preston. It's the Dutch House, if you're watching it. It's the fancy housing estate where they're all totally detached, big driveway, double garage, and they're like in the sort they made in the 1970s, and they're done in sort of double glazed fake Georgian. It was that sort of house, really like a mansion. They're all like mansions around there. It's a lovely, lovely... it's one of the best kept secrets, actually, in Sussex. Goring, East Preston, Angmering, Durrington. That is just lovely there. Littlehampton. Anyway, so Robin lived with his mum and dad. His family were fabulously rich, so maybe that's where he got his money from. But he didn't steal from them or anything like that, or take any of the old masters off the wall to sell them. Sadly, his dad died, which left him looking after his mum, who was also a pisshead. I saw the double garage. I said, "Oh, you got any sports cars in there?" And he opened the door, and it was just covered in wine bottles. There must have been thousands of them. Never mind the eggshells. And she wandered through into the kitchen one night in nothing but a cardigan that was not done up. I mean, absolutely nothing. And Bobby said to her, "Go and put some clothes on, Mother." And she looked at me and she said, "Oh, there are so many rules around here when Bobby's home." And I thought, he's a bit drafty. I mean, she had no knickers on, nothing. Anyway, I mean, how the rich live. You never know what's going on. Well, one time he came round to my flat and he said to me and Thomas, "Oh, I've just turned up. Would it be all right if I shoot up in the kitchen?" And we were both stunned, because neither of me nor Thomas or Graham or any of us, we don't take drugs, and certainly not heroin. And I didn't know what to say, and being like very polite people, your automatic response is, "Oh, yes, of course, help yourself." It's a bit like, "Well, no, use your toilet." Yes, no. So he went into the kitchen, and it was when mobile phones were new, and he got this mobile phone out of his pocket, and the trendy mobile phone, well, the only mobile phones anybody had were the old Motorola house bricks. But this thing he got out of his pocket was quite small, and it folded in half. Anyway, he started cooking up, as they say, in the kitchen, and me and Thomas were in the living room going, "Yikes, we're really not happy with this." So I said, "Well, we've got to say something." So I was elected out of the two, you know, what a brave soul Thomas was. And I went in and I said, "I'm sorry, Bobby, you can't do that. Please don't do that. Can you go out? Can you go somewhere else? I don't know. I don't care where. Go home. But you can't do that. I can't have heroin injections in my home. Please." I mean, I felt I was on Skid Row anyway. I'm not judging people who are heroin addicts. I've got people in my family who have problems, not my immediate family, and I have friends who have problems, and I understand that it is a problem. But at that stage, I was so shocked I'd never seen it before. So he left in quite a hurry, leaving his mobile phone. He'd actually been into the toilet by then, and he'd left this fancy mobile phone on the side of the bath. Anyway, he left. Not really in a huff. He was a nice guy, and he sort of said, "Well, you know, this isn't the way you treat your friends." And I thought, well, no, I know, and I feel awful, but if you wouldn't mind, I can't stand drugs. I wouldn't let anyone run a line of coke or anything like that off my glass table here, or my glass coffee table anywhere else. Anyway, Thomas and I were so shocked, we sat and chatted about it, like, holy crap, I've never seen that before. Was that a real needle? And what was he doing with the spoon and the lighter and stuff? And then eventually one of us had to go to the loo, and it was Thomas, and he came out and he went, "He's left his mobile phone by the bath." And my mate Bobby was always claiming he worked for MI5. And I don't think he did. I have got friends in those sort of round about those neck of the woods, but I've met so many people in Brighton who've either worked with James Bond because they're detached from reality. They think James is real. They think he exists. I've met so many people who were in the SAS. Was it the Iranian embassy? I've met so many people who say, "Oh yeah, that was me on the balcony." I've met time travellers in Brighton. You know, there was a lot of people, great imagination, and as I say, not quite there with reality, and Bobby was obviously one of these people. And Thomas said, "I don't want to touch it. What if I get my fingerprints on it? And is it something to do with drugs? We've got enough problems with the police. What if the police come round and then my fingerprints will be on it?" And I said, "Oh, don't be daft." And I went to pick it up, and I had a Motorola house brick. And you know, in those days, mobile phones were really quite heavy. I went to pick it up, and it was exceptionally light. And I went, "Whoa, oh, I didn't expect that." It was like, I said, "It's like a toy." And I opened the flap, and I pressed a button, And a recording went, "Hello, operator, may I help you?" One of the buttons made a Donald Duck noise. I mean, it was just a prop, it was a toy. And then we realised the machine guns most likely were as well. And it gave us most amusement because Thomas said, what if he put it to his head pretending to have a call and he'd accidentally hit one of the buttons? You know, don't know why imaginary or very childish props sprout. Well, I do know why imaginary and very, very childish props have sprung to mind. I will leave that for all of you to guess what has recently made me think of incredibly unconvincing things. Anyway, I'd love to hear if you ever met anyone with a fabulous imagination. And yeah, I've met loads of them. I'm full of these stories, absolutely full of them. Talk about looking for content for YouTube. I've been looking for somewhere to spill all my experiences out all these years, and here are all you victims. So I will see you in the next one and in the comments.